Our news is brought to you by Alive.
Believe in best.
Coming up tonight, a man is shot dead by an off-duty police officer after an altercation. Meanwhile, a large crowd of F&M supporters campaigns in the inner city. And the Grand Bahama native helps his home country all the way from Canada. Welcome to Our News, and thanks for joining us. I'm Jared Higgs. Topping news tonight, a police officer shot and killed a man after he was reportedly attacked outside an East Street establishment last night, police said. Preliminary reports indicate that the officer, who was a patron of the establishment, intervened during an altercation. Police said a man involved in the fight left and later returned with a baseball bat and struck the officer in his head and face several times. The officer then shot the man with his service pistol, police said. Emergency medical service personnel pronounced the man dead on the scene. The officer was transported to the hospital where he is being treated. The matter is under investigation. Police are also investigating a shooting incident that left a man injured last night. Preliminary reports are that after 10 p.m., police received reports that a man, while walking in the area of Nicholas Court, Yellow Elder Gardens, was approached by the occupants of a Honda Fit, and he observed the rear passenger glass go down and heard gunshots. He later realized that he was struck to the right leg and under his right arm. He was transported to hospital and is listed in serious but stable condition. Investigations into this matter continue. Prime Minister Dr. Rupert Minnis led a walkabout in the Centerville constituency earlier today. Minnis told the crowd gathered that the F&M intends to hold on to the constituency in the next election. He also offered a defense to criticism that the large crowds weren't consistent with social distancing measures.
Centerville must stay with the F&M.
A large crowd of F&M supporters walked the streets in Centerville on Saturday afternoon in the hopes of gathering support for their candidate in the constituency.
The PLP has had it for a long time, but now they are with us. We have no intention of losing any of our seats.
Minnis was flanked by several F&M candidates, including Courtney Coulibaly, who's vying to be the Member of Parliament for Centerville.
We are here to walk polling division number 5 and number 8, just to let the people, just to come and hear some concerns from the people, let the people know that we care about them. We brought the Prime Minister here with us to ensure that everyone knows that Centerville is going to remain red, and we here to work for Centerville. I'm here to work for Centerville.
Dozens went door to door and talked to residents as they walked in the area. The large crowd size prompting Minnis to defend the party's action from criticism that it wasn't following guidelines.
Every individual are wearing their mask, they're wearing it properly, and when we visit homes, they don't go inside. What happened is only 2 or 3 would go, myself and the candidate. If it's a very elder individual, we speak to them from the outside, we don't go inside.
So you don't feel that any protocols are being broken at this time?
In terms of the numbers are large, but in addition to that, the numbers are adhering to the protocols that we put forth in terms of wearing the mask and wearing it properly.
We also spoke to some residents in the community. These people say their votes are going to who can help them and their families the most.
I can be honest, like I say, my current is off, and I ain't doing good at all. Whoever helped me, I willing to help.
So you're willing to swing your vote with whatever party helps you?
Yes.
I don't know how the heart of the people is for the day, but trust me, I vote for who gonna help me. I gonna vote for who can take care of me and my 9 children. That's what I gonna vote for.
Meanwhile, Prime Minister Dr. Rupert Minnis is not committing to implementing legislation for term limits before the end of this term. It's a promise he made during the run-up to the 2017 general election, but has yet to fulfill. Instead, the Prime Minister told reporters yesterday in Anagua that he can only promise that he won't serve more than 2 terms.
I have 1 more term. Election is due 22nd, due by May of next year. Whenever election is called, then I have no doubt we'd win, not roll into my last and final term.
So you're going to legislate term limits for the Prime Minister on your next term then?
I would legislate it as quickly as possible, but however, I most certainly would adhere to what has been said.
With the arrival of those 20,000 doses of AstraZeneca vaccine, Public Hospitals Authority Deputy Managing Director Lerone Burrows says PHA health officials are responding favorably to the arrival of the vaccine.
Up to this point, we have conducted surveys to assess the willingness of our staff and those on the front line to participate in the vaccine program. We've gotten some very positive results. I think some of the questions really was in relation to, from a timing perspective, at that time there was no confirmation as to which vaccine we would actually be receiving. But since we've now gotten confirmation, we've seen upticks in terms of positivity.
Burrows says a majority of healthcare workers are looking forward to getting vaccinated. His comments come days after healthcare unions said they received no information from the government on how the rollout of the COVID-19 vaccine will take place. Addressing the nation last weekend, the Prime Minister said healthcare workers should be able to begin booking vaccination appointments online within days of the arrival of the vaccine. Burrows says the PHA is ready to assist in the rollout.
The Public Hospitals Authority, obviously we stand ready to assist in any form or fashion that we can. All of the technology related to the registration program and the tracking, those are done through the Public Hospitals Authority data center. And so we've been working in terms of being sure that the system is ready and available to go once the green light is given.
Bahamas Christian Council President Bishop Dalton Fernandez says he fully supports expunging criminal records for those caught with small amounts of marijuana. He says while he still doesn't support decriminalizing marijuana, he feels the expungement of records for small amounts is a step in the right direction for those looking to turn a new leaf.
Expungement, we are in total agreement. In fact, we don't know why that keeps being said, because that happens, as you would have known, it's been happening, that after a certain amount of years you make your appeal and your record can be expunged. Maybe it wasn't followed out, the law wasn't being followed out, so maybe it's marijuana, small theft, whatever category you find yourself in, you can get your record expunged. And so we're all for that, because we have to rehabilitate our society. If you made a mistake as a young person, you should be given a second chance.
Last year, Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis said the government will begin expunging the records of those convicted of small amounts of marijuana in 2021. Meanwhile, police continue to make arrests for people caught with small amounts of marijuana. Fernandez says he still, however, does not support decriminalizing the use of marijuana.
We still stand opposed to the decriminalization of marijuana. Not because we're talking about expunging a record, a big mistake, because as you have seen this week, we have 250,000 and more amount of marijuana found on our streets. As soon as you send the message that it's okay, we begin to destroy our society, but bring it into gummy bears, to chips, through the like. And so we've got to be sure that we're not destroying ourselves and bringing ourselves to a place that we don't have the systems in place. We don't have the system in place for alcohol rehabilitation, and we do have alcoholics, we have it for gambling, and we do have those who are getting addicted to gambling. Here we go again, and we add something else to it that's legalized, and we make the same mistake over and over again as a society. We have to learn from our mistakes.
The search continues for a man who went missing just over a week ago when the plane he was traveling on disappeared from radar near Salina Point, Acklands. That was on Friday, March 5th. According to the families of Stephen Sawyer and Cliff Dean, yesterday's search was limited by rough seas, but they're hopeful after making contacts on those islands. The latest report indicates that the families followed up with people who say they saw a plane smoking in the air, appearing to be in distress. They learned, however, that based on the time of day, that plane was not the one Stevie and Cliff were traveling on, confirming that they may have landed further south. This, the family says, is good news as it can begin to rule out a crash. So far, there have been no sightings, no debris, and no oil slicks to indicate that a crash occurred in the area the teams have searched so far. The families of Stephen Sawyer and Cliff Dean have set up a Facebook page with updates on the search. Police have also issued a missing person flyer with Sawyer on it. The family continues to search in Inagua next. Still to come on our news, what's being done to make banking easier in the Family Islands? And police urging business owners to follow safety tips. Stay with us.
Every new season of On the Record, we push the limits. Venture into unknown territory. We take our cameras into places unseen before. We share the stories and experiences that affect us all. And now it's time for Season 5. On the Record, Thursdays at 8 p.m. on RTV Cable Channel 212 and streaming live on Facebook on the R News Bahamas page.
Inagua residents now relieved of the expense of having to travel to New Providence just to renew their passports. This as Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis officially opened the satellite passport office on that island yesterday. In his address, Dr. Minnis said this is consistent in government's commitment to bring essential services closer to family islanders.
Today, you are able to apply for and/or renew your passports online from your home or office or from wherever, and have your passports completed and returned to you within 5 to 7 days.
This new satellite facility comes 1 month after the opening of a similar facility in Georgetown, Exuma. Since the opening of that facility, Dr. Minnis says 192 applicants have been enrolled. After several banks withdrew service from North Andros, that island's MP says he's trying to find other options for his constituents. Gillian Gray tells us more.
This is the state of banking in North Andros.
It's a frustrating problem that North Andros residents are still struggling with. Scotiabank closed its doors in January, leaving only digital banking options. Scotiabank joined CIBC and Royal Bank in withdrawing from several family islands, including Andros. From business owners who need to make deposits to people trying to access their payrolls and pensions, North Andros MP Carlton Boleg says he's heard their cries and is doing what he can to bring relief. Boleg is pleading with his constituents to be patient as he tries to address the matter. While more ABMs may be a temporary solution, Boleg says it's the senior citizens he's concerned for, as many of them struggle with technology. Reporting for Our News Weekend, I'm Gillian Gray.
In other news, police say they want business owners to be intimately familiar with steps they can take to stay safe from armed robbers. Officer in charge of the Central Detective Unit, Chief Superintendent Shanta Knoll, says those tips are meant to prevent and solve crimes.
We want to remind people, especially those in store owners, where we see that when incidents occur, they have surveillance on their premises and still not working. We again are asking those persons or those people to ensure that if you have surveillance on your premises, that those machines are working and are in strategic places around the business establishment, that they can help us to catch would-be criminals who come into the store.
Knoll says money handling is also crucial.
Still, large sums of cash are being kept in cash registers and on persons who are walking in the community. We find still that some business owners are allowing their employees to make bank deposits. This is a no-no. We talk about these tips a lot during the Christmas time, but we feel the need that we should again remind them about this.
Knowles is encouraging businesses to utilize security companies to protect large deposits.
There are certified, reputable companies, armored companies, that can assist in making deposits. And we are asking, while we will not name any particular company, we're asking you to reach out to those companies, find them, and allow them to help you secure your money into one of the banking institutions.
When our news comes back from the break, a Grand Bahama man living abroad finds a way to give back, and how the pandemic has left mental scars in our population.
Every new season of On the Record, we push the limits. Venture into unknown territory. We take our cameras into places unseen before. We share the stories and experiences that affect us all. And now it's time for Season 5. On the Record, Thursdays at 8 p.m. on RTV Cable Channel 212 and streaming live on Facebook on the R News Bahamas page.
A Bahamian living in Canada helped to raise more than $10,000 to help Grand Bahamians get back on their feet in the aftermath of Hurricane Dorian and the COVID-19 pandemic. Christina Dragovich tells us more.
Luke Ignace is a Grand Bahamian living in Prince Edward Island, Canada. He left his island home several years ago, but a yearning to give back after Hurricane Dorian brought him back home. He recalls hearing the winds of the Category 5 hurricane bearing down as his family sought shelter.
My family's here. My whole family's here. My friends are here. I know what Dorian has done. I keep in touch with everybody over WhatsApp. I see the damage, and my heart yearns to help my home. I can hear the wind howling. I can hear them kind of unsure if they're going to make it through things, and I'm just in peace because Canada at the time, no hurricane was there. But here's the thing. Dorian actually made its way up to Atlantic Canada and impacted PEI as a Category 1 hurricane.
Ignace founded the Island to Island Project, a nonprofit to help get much-needed supplies to Caribbean countries in the wake of natural disasters. He helped to get a container full of personal hygiene and first aid supplies to Grand Bahama, but he hopes this is just the beginning.
Initial container for me is just the first. I want to see 10 more containers come down from Canada. This was just from Prince Edward Island. See what I'm saying? So I want to see supplies come from Halifax, from Newfoundland. I want to see Alberta get involved. I want to see all of Canada get involved, because we got a very, very large Caribbean diaspora in Toronto and in Montreal and in Ontario. If we mobilize these people, we can do a whole lot more than this.
The distribution and logistics wouldn't have been possible without the help of the Rotary Club of Freeport and Michael Stafford.
We were asked if we would facilitate receiving the container, which you can see behind us right now. We're at the Rotary warehouse unloading it. It's basically medical supplies along with what Luke had mentioned, hygiene products and some foodstuffs. And we're going to be distributing them throughout the island.
Ignace says he hopes to foster a lasting relationship between the two islands. Reporting for Our News, I'm Christina Dragovich.
When Our News Weekend returns, taking a look at the mental toll of the pandemic. Stay with us.
Every new season of On the Record, we push the limits. Venture into unknown territory. We take our cameras into places unseen before. We share the stories and experiences that affect us all. And now it's time for Season 5. On the Record, Thursdays at 8 p.m. on RTV Cable Channel 212 and streaming live on Facebook on the R News Bahamas page.
We're now in the second year of the COVID-19 pandemic, and it's changed the way that we live. But health experts expect there'll be more lasting effects that will affect all generations. In the breakdown, Chief Medical Officer Dr. Pearl McMillan speaks with our Christina Dragovich about the ripple effects the past year has and continues to have on the way we live.
Some deep scars will be left from this COVID-19 pandemic. And what I would say is that mental health services, even prior to COVID, required strengthening, not only in the Bahamas, not only in the sub-region of the Caribbean, but almost globally because of the stigma associated with mental health challenges. When you think about, how the virus transmitted and what needed to happen, the distancing, the social distancing, persons not being able to be with their relatives while they're in hospital, and some unfortunately passing away without close relatives there. That alone is not something that goes away easily.
The Breakdown airs Monday, March 15th, 1 year after the Bahamas recorded its first case of COVID-19. Daylight savings time begins at 2 a.m. tomorrow morning, so don't forget to set your clocks 1 hour forward before going to bed. Don't worry, your smartphone should do it automatically, but there are some devices that require you to do it manually. Daylight saving time begins the second Sunday in March at 2 a.m. and runs for 8 months up to the first Sunday in November. Thank you for joining us for Our News Tonight. To catch our news on the go, download the RevGo Play app. On behalf of the entire news team, I'm Jared Higgs. Have a beautiful evening, Bahamas.